Perfect.
So thank you for coming today. Um, and I'm presenting on behalf of Fluid 7. And our idea for Fund 8 is ESG compliant enterprise staking. So the Fund 8 challenge. We're part of the challenge for business solutions, business to business, and business to consumer. And when we were deciding on a solution, if you look at the challenge, key metric number 7 in the challenge was to look at an increase in growth in mainnet and testnet activity due to business solutions. So that's what we see our solution as being, and it's encouraging testnet activity. So the question that we ask is, can we encourage companies to stake on Cardano by building a product that solves real business needs? So what is that global business need that we decided to look at? And that is, right now, global finance and government regulators are imposing ESG mandates on businesses. And these ESG mandates will impact Cardano-based businesses. So our solution is to create a staking as a service consultancy and stake pool operator network to help Cardano-based businesses attain and maintain ESG compliance. So our ESG compliant staking as a service. We're going to get more into that. So what is ESG? Some people, I think we take it for granted that everybody knows what it is, but some people may not know. So let's talk about that. Well, ESG stands for environmental, social, and governance. So when we talk about environmental, we're talking a lot about our carbon footprint and operations, a company's operations and supply chain, and what their impact on the environment looks like, and climate change. And for social criteria, we look at, how do they treat their labor force? Is their labor force diverse? Are they doing any sort of charitable giving? And governance has to deal with compliance and other things, but let's just say compliance. And so when you look at governance, it usually has to focuses on the environment and social. And so what this solution does is it focuses on how to help a company meet the social criteria within ESG, and by creating social impact through charitable giving. And specifically, when we talk about businesses, obviously we're talking about stake pools. And so what are factors that influence delegation? People want to know it's verifiable on chain, the pool maturity, the system uptime, the return on investment, the size of the pledge. And so a lot of these stake pools to bring in people are saying, to bring in delegation and saying, hey, we give to this wonderful charity, but how do we trust this? How do we trust their charitable promises, that the purposes are aligned with what we believe that we're giving to when we stake with them? So the goal of the solution is to verify the financial giving of the stake pool operator, create that trust that beneficiaries have been well vetted, and track and inform on the impacts made. So how do we create a verifiable charitable giving? Well, you choose a trusted third party that vets the charitable projects. This creates a human connection between on-chain staking activity and the real-world beneficiaries. And the community gains confidence in staking and donating, because you believe your money is going to go where they say it is. So who is this trusted third party we're going to be working with? Well, it's B1G1, Business for Good. And we're partnering with B1G1 donation platform to tie the promises to the charitable projects. And if you're not familiar with B1G1, they are well established in this space. They are a certified B Corp in the US, and they are also established in Singapore. They have over 2,600 existing donor businesses, a portfolio of over 450 existing projects. They impact metrics that they include in their data include, I believe it's 17 UN Sustainable Development Goals, and the API access is available. So what this allows us to do, what this allows stake pool operators to do that are participating in this staking as a service, is that they have a way to verify and show that they can offer this charitable promise, such as each day you stake with our pool, we provide a day of access to ICT and internet for students in Ethiopia. So that's that's really compelling. People are going to want to know that their money is going to somewhere good. It's the giving model that we're used to know that companies are really creating social impact, and again meeting those ESG goals and compliance. And we can get in a little bit later on. A little bit more if people need to understand what ESG is. We can flesh that out later. So building the framework. The framework is based on B1G1 integration. And so that would provide stake pool operators with delegation related data, a Zapier integration, social media call outs for, when they're giving, we're letting everybody know, and integrating B1G1 widgets so that it's front and center, what that charitable promise is and that they're meeting. Key metrics. So the Fund 8 request that Fluid7 is making is based on a budget of $28,700 US dollars. That's a huge difference, I know, sorry. So one of the things to note is that Fluid Stake Pool joined B1G1 in July 2021. And that's important to know because we're not just pulling this out of thin air. We know what it means to work with B1G1 and what that offering can do for stake pool operators. So it's a tested model. And for Fund 8, what we're hoping to fund is, widening that test out to 5 mission-driven SPOs joining the trial, 3 recipient developing countries chosen, 500 giving impacts, and 10 sustainable development goals represented in recipient charitable projects. So about our team, we get stuff done. The company is Fluid7. If you're not aware of Fluid7, Fluid7's been around for at least a decade, helping companies meet their tech needs. So now Fluid7 has joined the future of decentralized finance. And it's our mission to provide infrastructure to the Cardano blockchain to help bank the unbanked and create a level playing field. So we're building on a solid foundation. There's a list of the clients there. And that's the team. Hi, I'm Shira. You've met me. John heads up our team, and we have Anthony, part of business development. And you see our wonderful team of developers, Jane, Amon, Maxim, and Somerville. Finally, how to find us. You can grab your phone, put it up to that QR code, or you can see all these wonderful links and click on them. And thank you for joining us. I'm ready for some Q&A.
Wow, perfect. Even some seconds left. So
I know. I was like, gotta get that 10 minutes. I'm ready.
Great start, by the way.
I'm gonna leave it up a little bit longer so people can get down this information in case they're writing it down or putting up their phone to that QR code.
Perfect. And Tim, you have your hands up.
Yeah, 2 real quick questions. And one, I know that when companies make a donation, they want to have a really big social impact. So how do companies actually translate having invested in a stake pool into, hey, we're green friendly, or we're investing in Africa? How do they actually translate that in their PR departments to have higher cred with their customers? And a quick follow-on is, of course, companies want to vet where they put their money, but also I think we want to vet the companies. You know, if you ask people who was the #1 company for the environment, they would say Exxon, because Exxon put millions of dollars into running TV ads. So how is the reverse vetting accomplished? Thanks.
Okay. So I think I understand what you're asking. And the way I'm going to answer that is that, again, looking at our trusted third-party provider, B1G1, B1G1, if you look more into them, they work with so many companies because they've proven that they have a system of vetting. And I think that when you're dealing with big companies, most people, like you said, you want to vet, but you want somebody to have vetted and hand you that information and maybe give you some choices, and then you can vet from that. You don't want to have to go through, 450 projects trying to figure out who is legitimately backing up the promises that they make. And so that is why it's so important to work with somebody who's so established already in terms of this field of working with charities, of having that system to make sure that they are doing what they say that they're doing. And then if I'm giving to them and I know that my money's going to them, it's going to where they say they're going. So B1G1 has already established that trust. So we're not trying to reinvent the wheel, and that's why we're working with them.
Okay, good answer, thanks.
And Nicholas.
Yeah, just one quick question. I think it's a very, very good idea that you have. I'm just a bit concerned about centralized entity that you take the ESG information from, and I just want to know how can you mitigate those risks, or how can we trust this entity?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a concern whenever you're working with like any entity, but I would say the fact that they we're not just taking them on their word, they're providing data. So they provide every stake pool operator with metrics in terms of like what the company's doing, how many, what the giving is like it's very detailed data that the delegators are getting in terms of, what's their stake pool is looking for. But again, that way they can go back to the people delegating on their stake pool and say, hey, these are the like specific metrics that are being met in terms of charitable giving. And I think that if you weren't actually tracking that, you couldn't have that data. And that's why B1G1, that's why so many people go to B1G1, because they're giving you like detailed data that if they weren't in fact, tracking this. I mean, I guess you could make up data, but then our whole, not to be flippant, but like our whole world would fall apart because we're always trusting the data that we get from other people. Not to be flippant. And I hope that answers your questions, but in reality, I think, if there is a better way, we will look into it.
Yeah, thank you.
I know y'all have more questions.
I'll jump in with one more question.
Don't be shy.
Okay, trying to see one step ahead here. All these companies have added in stake pools, and then they will start voting in Catalyst. So I'm wondering if any kind of like study, or you have a feel or gut feel or something, like, are these companies going to vote according to their alignment with your organization, or are they going to maybe vote in ways we might not like?
Can you be a little bit specific? I think I understand what you're asking, but just a little bit more specificity might.
Yeah, sure.
Help
I
me.
should have put more details. So once a prerequisite to voting in Catalyst is that you put your money in stake pools. So let's say that you have a company that has a very good cause, and they have all this money in stake pools. Are they going to go off and maybe vote for a project that's anti-environment, or are they going to distort the I'll wrap up here. Are they going to distort the board?
Right. I think I see what you're saying, but I'm going to go back to like our initial problem that the challenge is trying to meet. And that is that companies are going to need to show that they are, let's say, meeting ESG criteria. So, I mean, I hear that you're saying that they're trying to be anti-environmental. Let's say, for instance, I think you mentioned Chevron earlier, right? So maybe you're saying like, well, is Chevron really environmental? And yet they're staking because they want to give to Chevron or something like that. But maybe I think in a sense, the way that it works, I mean, you'd have to be, and I'm speaking because I know from the SEC,
Sharon,
which is,
Sharon,
oh.
we are on the top of the presentation already. Can you
Oh,
make it
sorry.
really short to close?
Yeah, I was just going to close and say that like this criteria is real. It's being required of all the big asset managers. The US SEC, which is the Securities Exchange Commission, is moving towards requiring investors to all disclose to this, companies, public companies, to disclose all of this information. So this is real information that people want, and people are going to start getting down the chain, people are going to need to account for this. And also what's going to happen is consumers are going to start demanding it because they know that that information is out there. I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Sharon. And thanks a lot, everybody else, for presenting as well. That's it.